system and social media to keep them updated on the delays. And then after the storm passed, we would make routine updates daily, sometimes maybe every other day, just to kind of update the community and staff on where we were at in trying to recover and get started back up.
Okay. And how were supports prioritized for students, and how were students identified in terms of being first to receive supports?
We had a wave of support from all over the country. In fact, we had some help coming in from overseas with food and school supplies and clothing and all types of necessities, and also financial donations. And we have a public relations coordinator at the district level, and she coordinated all of those efforts as far as the donations that were coming in. And from there, once we got the kids back in school, we sent out we basically did some little questionnaires on what their needs were. We got directly from the kids. We also sent some questionnaires home. We did an online survey to find out where everyone was at in their recovery, and that helped us identify who needs the most support. The McKinney-Vento Act, dealing with homeless students, that was a big deal. And throughout the school year, we kind of kept following up on trying to get the most accurate data we could on who was still displaced. And, we were doing all we could. We were setting up little supply tables and things, and clothing tables at the campuses for kids to basically come get what they needed.
Okay. All right, thank you. That was a lot of information. And some of the things that you mentioned just recently and just a little while back, I think we're going to follow up on here. So what accommodations, if any, were provided to your school by the district, state, or federal government to increase flexibility? And I know you mentioned McKinney-Vento and the Hold Harmless.
Well, the state just recently released their final accountability standards, and they have a special provision in there you're probably aware of for the Harvey impacted districts. And so with the new accountability system, the A2F system, they basically, it's kind of like and there's a lot of details to it, but they basically softened the accountability approach for the Harvey impacted districts, because we started school 3 to 4 weeks later than every other district, and a significant percentage of our students and staff were homeless for most, if not all, the school year. And so there was some accountability relief from the state. From the district level, we have to hold staff and students accountable for the work that we're trying to get accomplished each day. But there was definitely a relaxed atmosphere from the district level on, for instance, let me think how I want to word this. I don't know, I kind of got sidetracked there. On a daily basis, we relaxed the dress code for students and staff, because people all the way up to our superintendent and a few of our principals and our athletic director, they lost their homes, which meant they lost all their clothing. And so jeans were allowed to be worn every day throughout the school year. We allowed, in the past, secondary students weren't allowed to wear shorts to school. We allowed knee-length shorts throughout the school year. So we had a relaxed dress code that seemed to build some positivity. I think people appreciated that they weren't being held to such a standard, knowing all their losses that they had faced.
Okay. Briefly returning to the to the relaxed or softened accountability approach offered by the state. Did you have to go through any sort of formal process to receive that accommodation?
Yes. That was part of our purpose of trying to get the most accurate data we could on the McKinney-Vento Act. Mm-hmm. Our superintendent had to meet in Austin on multiple occasions with the legislature. He's had multiple meetings at the region level with the Commissioner of Education, and basically had to continue to present the challenges, the special challenges we faced as a Harvey impacted district. And there were, the commissioner, the TEA, and the state, they were pretty specific in what they were looking for in the way of evidence and things like that. And so our superintendent had to do some data collecting throughout the year and continue to share that with the state.
Okay. And then just very briefly returning to hold harmless and having that not impact your funding as a result of decreased enrollment. Was that a state or a district accommodation?
The state accommodated us on that.
State, okay. And similarly, was there any sort of formal process to receive that?
I don't believe so. I know I heard it discussed at a school board meeting, but I think it was just informational. I don't think the board had to file, or the district had to file a waiver. But again, that might be out of my realm. They may have had to file a waiver, but I'm not 100% on that.
No problem. And then with McKinney-Vento, refresh my memory, is that the one that allows for the free meals for affected students?
Yes, sir. That's how we identify homeless students. Mm-hmm. And by identifying them as homeless, yes, that would qualify them for the free food assistance.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And similarly, was that a state or a district accommodation?
State.
State. And similar to these most recent questions, was there a formal process to receive that you're aware of?
Yes, we had to get the proper documentation for each student.
Right. You did just mention that. Thank you for saying it again for me.
That's okay.
Okay. And to your knowledge, what modifications, if any, were provided to students and school personnel at the high school?
Modification.
And this can be, and we partially did talk about the free meals, but this is also concerning things like changes to the academic calendar, anything of that nature.
Okay, yeah, the school year was obviously shortened. On the original school calendar, we had 5 or 6 instructional focus days built in, which would have been student holidays, but staff would have worked and it would have been used for teacher planning. Mm-hmm. We had to give up those instructional focus days as part of our makeup of the lost days. So that impacted planning throughout the year. The teachers really value those instructional focus days, and that we took a hit by losing those days. That would have been probably the thing that sticks out in my mind as far as what impacted the calendar the most.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And to your knowledge, how was the school used to support broader recovery efforts?
Broader recovery efforts. The high school, other than, during the initial recovery, even before school got started, there was some collections done up here at the high school where we were receiving items and things like that were donated. It wasn't used as a shelter or anything like that during the storm. One of our other campuses was, because it's like the high point in our school district, and so it was a recovery area. It was a shelter and recovery area that was used extensively by local agencies. But I'm not aware of the high school being used much more broadly than that.
Okay. All right, and so we're moving into another section again. And here we're focused even just a little bit more after the storm and thinking back to supports and accommodations that the school either provided or received as recovery, as recovery progressed.